Part of me wants to get eaten by a flurkin so I can see what kind of like pocket dimension they have going on inside of them. But the other side of me does not. What are your thoughts on that? Do you want to be eaten by a flurkin? Do you want those tentacles to grab you and it suck you up in its mouth? I can't be saying any of that. Welcome back everyone to Grizzly Reviews. My name is Garrett and today I'm bringing you a review for The Marvels. The MCU is back in theaters with The Marvels and I am extremely happy this movie has come out. The timing of this film and Loki season 2 happening, it just fills that void that we've been missing since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out. We're gonna completely look over Secret Invasion because, wow, that was not good. This movie also seems to forget that Secret Invasion happened, so let's all do it. I was actually excited for The Marvels, believe it or not. These are characters that I really enjoy, especially Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel. That show was coming out when I moved into this apartment, so I hold it very near and dear to me. I rewatched Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel before this movie came out. I'm saving WandaVision for when the 4K Blu-ray comes out because I want to be able to watch it again that way. And I was really intrigued to see where this movie would take the MCU, and I had a great time. As the title suggests, this is an extremely fun movie. The Marvels is exactly what a movie should be: entertaining escapism. You go to the theater for an hour, 45 minutes, plus however long your trailers are, and you just get whisked away out of your life and are put in this fun and fantastical movie. And everyone by now knows what Martin Scorsese has said about the MCU. And for a long time, I was not okay with him saying that. But this movie made me realize that, yeah, some movies can just be roller coaster rides and you can have a great time. They don't have to mean anything, which can be a little bit of a knock against this movie. The fact that there really isn't like a story outside of like a found sisterhood, and the fact that your actions do have consequences. But outside of that, this movie really isn't that deep. It's a comedy, foremost. I would say this is like an action comedy film, more on the comedy side than most of the MCU titles, but it does a way better job than Love and Thunder in balancing that comedy with its more serious moments. The story that The Marvels tells between these three women getting together, building friendships, and forming a team is genuinely perfect, and I'm really glad we got that in the MCU. Yeah, there's that moment in Endgame, but that's a moment in Endgame. A 3-hour-long movie, and you get that for what, maybe a minute and a half, if that scene is even that long. And the dynamics between these characters worked so well. The action was thrilling, fast-paced, the stunt choreography was excellent, and overall I would say this movie was well filmed. With what the script demanded, DaCosta did an excellent job piecing this film together. The characters are constantly changing locations because of the entanglement problem, so it made sense to keep your focus on one singular location for an extended bit of time while characters are coming in and out of it, and then switching to other locations to see what those characters are up to. I kind of wish it did that a little bit more, but the pacing of that fight scene would have been affected by that, and I think the pacing of this movie is really good. For an hour 45-minute movie, it does not feel like an hour 45 minutes. This movie could have been 10 minutes longer and I would have been even more pleased, especially when we get to the singing planet, but I'll talk about that later. That first entanglement sequence though is fantastic. All of the fighting is so good. There's so much comedy dispersed throughout it. Every time Kamala runs into Fury, she just has this like look of wonderment. Sometimes in this movie, it seems like Kamala is happier she's seeing Fury than Carol. Just the smile that Kamala has when she sees Fury is so wonderful. During the entanglement fight, I mean. The comedy in The Marvels is outstanding. I was laughing throughout this entire film. My favorite joke, though, it is so fast, you're gonna miss it your first viewing, but I just caught on to it, and it sent me in a little bit of a tizzy during the movie. It was really funny. It's when Kamala and Monica are falling out of the sky and they get into a purple bubble that Kamala makes, and then because they're using their powers and Carol is flying, they entangle and switch locations, And so Carol lands at the ground and Fury's like, oh cool, it's Carol. And it's so fast, it's so funny. I don't even think it's a joke, but it's just like that reaction and how like nonchalant Fury is about it being Carol there. It was really fucking funny, what can I say? So a lot of the reviews for this movie are that the villain really isn't that engaging and amazing. And I can kind of agree. I think the Kree are a little bit overused in the MCU. We've just seen the Kree everywhere in the MCU, from Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, The Marvels, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's not sort of considered the MCU. I consider it the MCU. I think Dar-Ben is exactly the kind of villain this movie needed. Compared to the villains in Captain Marvel, Dar-Ben is way more engaging than they were. And I feel like there's actual stakes to what Dar-Ben is doing to these planets. Like in Captain Marvel, we're really just protecting a small group of Skrulls, and it's just a few Kree that we're having to fight. In this movie, you're getting like a big Kree general. Yes, it's kind of a copy of Ronin, but I think Dar-Ben is better than Ronin because you get a more personal side for her. You get why she is doing what she is doing. She is doing these bad things, but for a selfishly good reason, all because it's something that Carol did. Carol's actions have extreme consequences, causing a Kree civil war. Dar-Ben allows Carol to move on from her past and be able to live in the present because she doesn't feel like she has to make up for those mistakes anymore. That's why her and Monica have this rift, as you learn in the movie. The rift between Monica and Carol could have been more in this movie. There's a scene where they talk about it and Monica is kind of bothered, but it doesn't really affect them in them trying to work together as a team. They get too good in their training of a team too fast. If Monica and Carol had more arguments between them, or there were like stronger feelings from Monica towards Carol in her anger towards Carol not returning is what I'm talking about, then it just would have been slightly more engaging for Monica's side. Monica being that angry could get a little tiresome in the movie, but at least it would have been something different and caused the characters to have to work on their problems more than they did. The Marvels is really Captain Marvel too. Everything that happens in this movie is based around Carol and the character's relationship to Carol. Kamala idolizes Captain Marvel, so you get this fangirl sense to when they meet, then this mentorship that Carol has with Kamala. And then Monica feels slighted by Carol because she never returned from going to shut down the Kree AI when she said she would. And while that can be like a childish grudge, it works. Especially as an adult, Monica has been through so much in her life and Carol was not around to help her. The Marvels does a great job at allowing Carol to grow as a character, not including Shang-Chi. The last time we really saw Carol was in Endgame, where she had no development outside of her haircut. Let's be honest. Carol was there to serve a purpose and to beat up Thanos, and that is the only reason she was in that movie. So I'm really glad the Marvels allows that character to grow. And Brie Larson does a great job as Carol Danvers in this movie. I like Carol a lot more in this film. She's allowed to be more weird and wacky and have fun, it seems like. In Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers is a very serious character, still quippy, but it's all with a serious tone. And now Carol kind of ebbs and flows as a character to where when she needs to be serious and tell Kamala we can only save the people we can save, she's giving that serious tone. But then she's allowed to have fun, be weird around Nick Fury, have some awkward body movement when she's chasing the Flurkins later in the film. There's still a grounded sense to her character because of the actions that she has done in her past. She takes all of that seriously, which is why the rift between her and Monica is there and why she was gone for so long. But it also doesn't seem like Carol was helping that much. Like, girl, you were gone for 30 years. You didn't try to stop the Civil War or anything. I feel like there needs to be a movie in between this movie and Captain Marvel to where you get the desperation for Carol and her wanting to solve the problems that she caused. The movie did an okay job at filling in the gaps of time and letting us catch up with where Carol is as a character, but it also takes a long time in the movie for those revelations to be revealed. So yeah, maybe do a little bit more setup for Carol at the beginning of this movie before you start the entanglement process. Iman Vellani is taking over as the best casting the MCU has ever done since Robert Downey Jr. The way she delivers her lines sometimes just makes the scenes feel so much more dire, and there's genuine emotion coming out of her with the way she says everything. I loved Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel, and The Marvels just really extends that character to becoming one of my favorites. And Iman Vellani is a huge comic book nerd. She loves the Marvel brand, and it really reflects in how she is acting in this movie. Recently, if you didn't know, Iman Vellani has been able to write Kamala Khan comics. With that character now being part of the X-Men, it's really cool to see Iman Vellani, who plays the character in real life, have a say in what this character is going through in the comics. This is a really great read, by the way. I highly recommend you check it out. And by the end of this movie, I'm extremely excited with the direction the MCU is taking Kamala Khan. I really hope we get a second season of Miss Marvel. There was a lot left to be desired after that show. Like, it's a really good show, I just wanted more of it. 6 episodes was not enough. So fingers crossed Kamala gets a season 2 of Miss Marvel and everything they use Iman Vellani in later, she's incredible in. Teyonah Parris plays Monica Rambeau, and she was also fantastic in this movie. Truly, all 3 leads did a great job in this film. I had a great time with their performances. The depth of Teyonah Parris's acting is also very incredible. I won't spoil what the end credit scene is, but her acting in that end credit scene was fantastic, and it sucked that it was the end of the movie where that showed up, and that's kind of the most emotional depth you get from this character. But that's not going to be Teyonah Parris' fault, that's the writing. This movie thankfully allowed a much more personal viewpoint for Monica. We get a little bit of that in WandaVision, but this movie does a lot more with that character, I think. So in this movie, the characters end up going to a planet where the language there is singing. And while it was really fun, I wish we could have been there a lot longer. You really just get the singing from when they arrive to where they go to the ballroom area, and then Carol has this little number. I wish everyone got to have a little number. Maybe some of the actors can't sing, so they took it out because it wasn't gonna work. But I also just wish we could have gotten more of the regular singing that they do. Like, I really just want a character to sing,
"Oh, can we get the bill?"
Louis, inside voice.
"Oh, can we get the bill?"
Not exactly that, but just normal stuff that a person would say, but they're singing it now, and it's kind of funny. Yes, I made a Bluey reference. Bluey is amazing. My biggest negative with this movie is some of the visual effects are really bad. I don't know if it's the same company that worked on Miss Marvel, but Miss Marvel had some really bad CGI as well, and the visual effects in the Marvels looked exactly like that, unfortunately. It's just fake people, and it's obvious fake people. And we're in 2023. I really think you should be able to make fake people look better, or just get stunt people and figure out how to do it with stunts. I don't know. It kind of just makes the movie look ugly. and I don't want to look at clay fake people. We're gonna get into some spoilers now, so skip to this time if you want to avoid spoilers, and we're gonna go. The mid-credits scene was fantastic. I mentioned before Teyonah Parris's acting in this scene, and her seeing her mother again truly moved me. Like, her reaction to seeing an alive version of her mother, not recognizing that this is a variant, because she doesn't know what a variant is yet, and they don't know that the multiverse is real. It was heartbreaking to see her show up. I loved how it mirrored her blipping in WandaVision, to where she comes back to the hospital room, sitting next to the hospital bed, but the hospital bed is empty. And this time she wakes up in the hospital bed and her mother is there sitting next to her. Again, not really her mother, but it's the same actress. Lashana Lynch, I am so happy, by the way. They are continually finding ways to keep her in this franchise. You saw her in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and now she's back in this movie, and I hope she has a continued arc in this franchise. Lashana Lynch is amazing. All the cameos in this movie were perfect. Kamala showing up at Haley Steinfeld's apartment, and we get Kate Bishop having that Tony Stark, Nick Fury vibe with Kamala. You can tell Iman Vellani is a fan of these movies. It gets a little too meta, perhaps, but I really enjoyed it. I'm there for it. I love seeing characters in the MCU from separate titles interact with each other later, and just seeing how these characters bounce off. I think Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan will have such an interesting dynamic together. So the MCU is a connected universe, and this movie felt very disconnected outside of the main characters. Nick Fury does not seem like the Nick Fury we just saw in Secret Invasion. This seems like it happens years before Secret Invasion. There's so much energy that Samuel L. Jackson is bringing to the character of Nick Fury. Again, we're in a comedic movie, and Secret Invasion is more drama thriller, but the characters should be consistent in each title, and while I enjoy him the most in this movie, I just wish there were connections to Secret Invasion. Like, why are the Skrulls going back to Earth if the United States government hates the Skrulls? Where's Nick Fury's wife? Why don't we really get any connection to Secret Invasion when it was something that was supposed to be huge in the MCU? But not really, because not a lot happened in that show. Not related to this movie, but Secret Invasion seems very weird after rewatching Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel ends with Ben Mendelsohn's character and all of those Skrulls leaving with Carol to go find another home. But somehow they end up back on Earth. That itself seemed very disjointed. I don't know if people remember the end of Captain Marvel that much, but during the run of Secret Invasion, I wasn't seeing people bring that up, so I want to bring that up now. The big finale action scene, while it was really fun, the fighting was great, what happens to the characters is a bit iffy. You see Kamala use her powers without the bangle, so is the bangle part of her powers, or is she just able to use her powers whenever she wants without having to use the bangle? I'm talking about when she embiggens her hand and grabs someone from space and brings them back in. It was confusing for me. But what happens to Dar-Ben, I think, is what should have happened to Dar-Ben. Villains should have their actions have consequences, and it's her own choice to get that second bangle and use it to open another gate to steal the sun. So her dying and disintegrating the way she did felt appropriate and very classic comic book stuff. The Flurkin in this movie were really adorable. I don't mind seeing all that. Again, this movie is a comedy. It should just allow itself to be a little chaotic and wild sometimes. Watching people just get eaten by these alien cats was such a hilarious time, and it worked for what was happening in the movie. They had to get these people off this ship, and this was the only way how, because most of the other tiny ships were destroyed. I have no complaints with the Flurkins. So that's my review of the Marvels. I really enjoyed this movie. It's a good movie, but it's not perfect. It's really messy, but at the same time, a lot of fun. It's one of those friends that you have that likes to get drunk, a little bit wasted, is a bit of a mess, but while they are that mess, you're just having a great time, and you're just loving how your time is being spent. I really want to go see this movie again. It was really that fun in theaters. The music in it was pretty fun. The action was fantastic. The comedy is so good in this movie. And when you get that dramatic stuff in this movie, you really feel it from Kamala Khan. I was really close to crying during a scene in this movie. Truly just because of Iman Vellani and her reaction towards what was happening. It was very heartbreaking. I did not want to see her have to go through such a traumatic experience, but in the end, it's going to be better for her to grow as a hero. I highly recommend you go see The Marvels. Give this movie the attention it deserves. It's one of the most fun movies of the year. What can I say? I'm gonna give The Marvels objectively an 8 out of 10, but for the overall entertainment value, it's gonna be a 10 for me. So have you seen The Marvels? Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Tell me all of your opinions about The Marvels. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you want to see more of my videos, hit subscribe so you know when they come out. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!